April continues to be super red. Hey there, Tamir from Fibonacci-Traders.com, your daily market recap. Like, subscribe. Let's see the charts. So let's see what SPY and Friends brought us in the past day on the trading day of April 18th. Red day, not surprising. April overall is a red month all across the board. Now holding above the 499 area. The 497 gap needs to get filled. We are bearish on all time frames except the weekly, but closing this gap, closing the week below the 499, the weekly will also turn red on the 65 minutes. Super tough price action for day traders. Moving sideways in the past 2 days, Wednesday, Thursday, sideways move between the 498 and the 503 area. And as you can see, this gap is still open. QQQ continue its downside. Another day, 0.6% to the downside. Yesterday closed the gap at the 425. Now holding above the 423 was a very important area of support, as you can see over here during January and February. Now once again support, breaking down another, and this gap will get filled at the 413.40. Dow Jones holding above the 376, but as you can see, 5 consecutive days, nothing much on the Dow Jones. This area was a very important area of resistance, now becomes very important area of support, breaking down another. 370 will arrive very fast. Dow Jones already from its high last just few weeks ago, almost 6% to the downside. IWM closed the day almost on the zero, nothing much, but continues to slide down on this blue trend line together with the 192 area. Very important area of support, all this area. Breaking below it, 187 will come here very fast. Bearish sentiment on all time frames, which means no bulls at sight, at least for now. Bitcoin, 24 hours or more until Bitcoin's halving. What do we see? This green area struggles to hold the support, breaking below it, and we will see this yellow zone to the downside. We are still under this triple top scenario, so make sure you have your risk on. We can take this trend line, and as you can see, trend lines, support, resistance. You can use also the FTI. Everything, look at the FTI, gives you more accurate support resistance than I give. Look at this. We know this resistance. We know the yellow zone from support to resistance. Now holding 3-4 consecutive days above the 59,600 together with this trend line. Breaking below this area, we will see 56 to the downside, and then this yellow zone between the 50 and the 52. The FTI gives us 51,000 overall. Bearish on all time frames on the Bitcoin. Ethereum, same thing, continues to slide down inside this downtrend channel. Now back retesting the 618 Fibonacci retracement. 2,830 is the support. Below it, 2,600 and 2,260. You can also use the FTI, the Fibonacci Traders indicator. Just put it on the chart and it will give you the most accurate support resistance for future price action. Look at this yellow zone. Yellow zone was a very important area of support since February until it broke to the downside earlier April, 1 week ago. Now the 2850 is holding a support. Below it we will see 2610 and 23 to the downside. We are getting, as you can see, look at this. We have a struggle between the bulls and the bears on the 65 minutes. You see it live. Now let's take a look on the 65 minutes. We have a struggle. Why? Because bulls wants to break above the 65 minutes yellow zone. Look at this. You see how the FTI adjusts itself according to what you're trading. So put the FTI on your chart, one click away, check the links in the description below, and this amazing tool can be yours. Let's talk about Mara. Mara holding above the 1420. We have this major multi-top scenario on Mara. Now breaking below this neckline, and Mara will be gone. Where? Just ask the FTI. Next support is the 1060. Let's adjust it a little bit. Now it's much more accurate. Below the 14 area, we will see 1060 and then 840 to the downside. CLSK gave us 8.8% in the past trading day, holding strong above the yellow zone. Below the yellow zone, and this gap at the 1050 most likely will get filled. Overall, CLSK doesn't look good very much. Doesn't look good since the peak of March just a few weeks ago. Until now, 34% to the downside. 34, ladies and gentlemen. You guessed it, it's a Fibonacci number. It's all about Fibonacci wherever you look, especially in trading. It's all about Fibonacci. KRE holding above the 4550, breaking below, and this gap will get filled. And look at this, the FTI gives us also gaps, so you don't need any gap detector. Just follow price, use the FTI in your chart, and we'll give you everything that you need. Magnificent 7, 0.5% to the downside, now heading towards the 3730. Below it, this gap, once again, look at the FTI, gives you also gaps, so you don't need to guess where price might be heading next. SOXX lost 1.8% to the downside, and we have been talking about this green trend line, now breaking below a downtrend channel. Nothing bullish on this scenario. Breaking below downtrend channel is, like this table shows us, it's bearish all the way. Now we still have this gap at the 204. Then we will go and close the gap over here at the 192, and then another gap over here at the 186, 86, 87. Overall, semiconductors are in a downtrend. Look at this, you don't need anything on your chart. Just look, we had an uptrend, take trend line, put a trend line, higher lows, broke, and that's it. Once it broke this trend line, this uptrend is done. Gold continues to push higher and higher. Now at the 2430, above it, you will see all this future resistance for price action. Silver, nothing much, just sideways move since beginning of April. 2570 is holding. Below it, we will go and retest the yellow zone as support at 2470. Long continuation, in my opinion, only a weekly close above the 2640. Dollar index DXY now continues to grind up on this blue trend line. This blue trend line was resistance, now becomes support. Above the 106, we will see 107.50 and 108 to the upside. Natural gas, just sideways move, nothing much. Price action continues to get tighter and tighter. Each and every day that goes by, we have lower highs and we have higher lows. Something needs to breaking above this blue trend line, and we will see 2.2, and then this gap at the 242 will get filled. Look at how the FTI works on everything that you need, whether it's futures, crypto, stocks, ETFs, indices, commodities, everything that you want, this FTI gives you. Crude oil 2% to the upside, but we are below this channel. Let's clean the chart a little bit. We don't like our charts to be so messy. We are above this blue trend line. Look at this, we are above this blue trend line, but struggles with this yellow zone. Let's see continuation above the 83.50, and then we will see 85 and 87 to the upside. Like, subscribe, don't go anywhere. It's just getting started. Netflix post earnings went to the downside 5%. Beat on everything, but still goes to the downside 5%. This is why I always say, do not go with open positions into earnings, because you never know how the market will react. The only thing that it's important is how the market will react to these reports. And as you can see, pretty good results. Beat on everything. And still goes down 5%. Now 602 needs to hold, otherwise 591. And then this gap, we have one gap over here at the 575 and another gap at the 560. Apple continues to slide down. Once again, broke below the 168. Bulls of Apple looks super tired, looks very weak. Next, we will see the 160. Let's get Fibonacci over here. 165, 162, and in 2 weeks' time, we have Apple's earnings, and we still have this gap that it's like a magnet for price action at the 146. AMD trying to recover with 0.7% today, but we are still inside a very steep downtrend channel going towards the 148 gap. Nvidia also trying to recover, close the gap over here. Let's see if it really closed the gap. Low of the day was 24.02, high of here 23. This gap is still open. Maybe tomorrow this gap will get filled, but we still have this gap open. We are still inside this yellow downtrend channel. Now you can put Fibonacci, the FTI on your chart, and it will give you, look at this, the yellow zone from support to resistance, the 832 area. Now is the support. Below it, of course, this gap at the 823 will get filled, and then 794 overall. Mixed signals on Nvidia, bearish, bullish, which means don't touch on Nvidia. Of course, it's only my opinion. In the end of the day, you need to do your own due diligence. SMCI, another day to the downside, 3.3%. Look at how the FTI with trend lines, the yellow zone, the 996 area, resistance, this trend line, resistance continues to the downside. Next support is the 857. Meta gained 1.5% to the upside. Meta looked very good in the beginning of the day, but yellow zone on the 65 minutes. Meta went up, 2 consecutive dojis on the upper border of the yellow zone, and then just slide down and close the day with a doji, but still inside the daily yellow zone. And the positive side, it's still inside this uptrend channel. Tesla, when will it be over? What will happen with Tesla? Is Tesla going under 100? For now, this is the way. Look at this, another day with a gap to the downside, 3.5% to the downside on Tesla. And this gap, you know, if you follow me in the past few weeks or so, we said that this gap will get filled. And here we are, just one step away from this gap and the lower yellow trend line. Look at this trend line, the support, but it's a very bad support. It shows us the way first for lower lows, and it takes us also the crossroads between these two trend lines, takes us below the 146 gap, takes us all the way to 133. And this trend line also takes us, we can take Fibonacci, and this trend line takes us towards the 104. So if you ask, is it the time? Is it the dip? For now, no, it's not. because every time someone tweets, someone posts on YouTube, it's the dip of Tesla, it's time to buy Tesla. Tesla continues to the downside. Microsoft 1.8% to the downside. Close the gap at the 405. You know all these gaps? Because we have been talking about these gaps long time now, and we said we need those gaps to the downside on Microsoft, on Google, on the SPY, on the Qs. All across the board we have too many gaps to the downside, and these gaps needs to get filled, and here we are closing these gaps one by one. And we also said we have a multi-top scenario on Microsoft, now breaking below the yellow zone, and Microsoft is heading to the 398. MicroStrategy 1.7% to the downside, still inside this downtrend channel below the yellow zone, now heading to the 1000. Google trying to stay with the head above water, and as you can see, we are still inside this uptrend channel, holding above the 153. Let's take Fibonacci a little bit tighter, above the yellow zone, inside an uptrend channel, and as you can see, this small table over here gives us that Google is still bullish on all time frames. PLTR continues to the downside, not surprising, now at the 2067. Below it you will see all this future support, and heading to the 1790. We have been talking about this gap, we have been talking about PLTR in the past few weeks or so. Once it broke below the 2440, we have said that PLTR is going south. No matter the news, no matter the noise, we need to follow price, we need to follow the trend lines. Just imagine trend lines as a road that you're driving, a road that the price is driving, and this road for now takes PLTR to the downside. Amazon with 1.14% to the downside, breaking below the yellow zone. Next support is the 178, below it 174, below the 174. This gap at the 170 will get filled. Shopify struggling to get back above this 70 area, 70.5 area. Let's clean the chart. I just want to leave this white trend line at place, because this white trend line helps us to identify the lower lows. It's a support, but it's a support for lower lows. And look at the struggle between bulls and bears. Bulls wants to keep their head above the white trend line, above the 68 area. 3 consecutive dojis, overall bearish on all time frames on Shopify. So let's see once again, Bitcoin continues. Let's check Bitcoin over here on the 2 hours chart, and as you can see, this trend line price continues to slide down on this trend line. Ethereum continues to slide down. Overall, all across the board of the crypto land, we are for now going to the downside. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, like, subscribe. Until the next video, stay safe.